Chosen one, close your mouth. I am not saying that to you as criticism. I am saying it as an emergency dispatch from somewhere higher than this message. Something has been moving around your next breakthrough for longer than you have been aware. The enemy has tried many strategies against you. He has tried delay. He has tried sustained discouragement. He has tried attacking the people in your circle who carry the same anointing you carry. He has tried introducing doubt in the specific season when your faith was building most powerfully. And every single one of those tactics has failed. Every one. Because you are still here. You are still pressing. You are still receiving. And now, with the breakthrough closer to you than it has ever been in your life, he has located the one door that was left open, the only one that you control directly, your mouth. Here is what I need you to hear before anything else in this message. God is furious right now, not at you. I need to say that clearly before the word furious settles in the wrong place. The fury is not directed at the person you are. It is not directed at the faith you have been carrying. It is not directed at the imperfections in how you have moved through this season. The fury is directed at what is about to happen to the thing he has been building around your life. If you make one specific and identifiable wrong move in the next season of what he is orchestrating. He is furious the way a craftsman is furious when someone is about to touch a piece that has not yet fully set. Not because you are bad, because you are close. Because the arrival of everything he promised you is now close enough to the moment of landing that a premature word spoken in the wrong direction could scatter the very atmosphere that has been years in the building around this specific thing. You are not being punished with this warning. You are not being condemned. You are being fought for by the one who has more investment in the outcome of this season than anyone else on earth or in any realm you can currently perceive. Your next move must be a deadly secret. Not because secrecy is your permanent state of being, not because you are being asked to carry what God is building inside you alone forever, without connection or community or witness, because the threshold you are standing at right now is real. The atmospheric conditions required for what God is about to deliver to land fully, completely, and permanently on your life are fragile, in the specific way that all sacred things are fragile before they are fully manifest. Every manifestation has a final gestation period, and in that period, premature speech does not simply reveal what God is building, it releases the very atmospheric pressure that was building it. I am going to show you everything in this message. I am going to show you the mechanism behind premature disclosure and why your brain is wired to do it without your permission. I am going to show you the specific pattern it has created in your life in previous seasons. I am going to show you what sacred silence actually produces in the invisible realm and why it is the most powerful strategic force available to you right now. And I am going to show you the one move that seals the door the enemy has been using for longer than you have been aware. Type the word silent in the comments right now. Let heaven register that you received this before the cost was paid, because what comes next is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who is close enough to the edge of everything that a single wrong word could cost an entire season. If that is you, stay with me for all of it. I want to show you first who this warning is for, because not every warning is meant for every person in every season. This specific warning has a specific recipient, and if you are still with me past the first moment, there is a high probability that you are that recipient. If you have ever shared something God was building in your life before it fully arrived and watched it change in the telling, this message is for you, not because you failed, because you experienced something that very few people understand as the pattern it actually is. You told someone about what was coming. You shared the vision, the direction, the sense of incoming breakthrough. And in the days that followed, something about that thing subtly shifted. It did not disappear, but it changed. It became somehow smaller in your experience, even though the promise had not changed. And you moved on without fully naming what had happened. That is the pattern this message is addressing. If you have ever announced a plan that was sacred and private, and felt the atmospheric shift in the very moment it became known to another person, this is for you. There is a sensation that a spiritually sensitive person experiences in that moment. The announcement feels right in the instant it leaves your mouth. It feels like shared joy, like testimony, like evidence of faith. And then, within hours sometimes, something that had been building with tremendous internal pressure goes suddenly quiet. The pressure releases, and what felt like sharing turns out to have been a leak, not a betrayal, not a sin, a leak. And the leak cost you something you cannot fully quantify, because you do not know what would have arrived if the pressure had stayed concentrated. If you have ever had a breakthrough come close, unmistakably close, and then felt it pull back just before arrival, with no explanation that fully satisfies you, this is for you. You searched for causes. You examined your prayer life. You interrogated your consistency. You looked at your relationships and your decisions and your alignment with what God had said. But you did not look at the conversation you had 3 days before the pullback, the sharing that happened in a moment of accumulated excitement, the premature testimony. If you carry something in you that you know is not ordinary, that you know is large and significant and of a different order than what most people around you carry, and if you have been unable to fully stop yourself from talking about it, even when something quiet in you was saying to wait, this message arrived today because God stopped everything to make sure it reached you before the next cost was paid. There is a second sign. You have had moments in recent memory where something that was building around your life felt suddenly flat, not gone, just pressureless. Like the energy that had been accumulating around a specific thing overnight lost its density with no identifiable cause. You checked everything you could think to check. But the one variable that did not show up in your examination was the most important one. The word that went out before God gave clearance for it to go out. And the third sign is this. You are in this message right now, and you have been nodding since the first sentence. Not because you were conditioned to nod, but because something in you recognized the pattern the moment it was named. That recognition is not coincidence, and it is not performance. That is a person being shown their own architecture by the one who designed it and who has been trying to protect them from its most costly output. You did not arrive here by accident. You arrived because the warning was sent before the next cost could be incurred. Receive that. Type "recognized" in the comments if you see your pattern in what was just described. Now let me diagnose the root cause, because a warning without a diagnosis of the root cause is just an increase in anxiety, and God does not operate in anxiety. He operates in precision. The precision of this warning requires that you understand not just what the pattern is, but why it exists. Because the why is what gives you actual leverage over the what. The pattern of premature speech is not a character flaw. It is not evidence of spiritual weakness or undisciplined faith. It is not a sign that you are not ready for what God is bringing. It has a mechanism, a specific, identifiable, addressable mechanism. And understanding the mechanism is the beginning of dismantling it permanently, rather than white-knuckling restraint every time the pressure builds. Here is the mechanism in plain language. When you are a person who carries something significant, something large, something that has been building toward an arrival over an extended period of time, your brain accumulates pressure around that thing. The anticipation of breakthrough, held without outlet for an extended period, creates a specific kind of internal pressure in the left hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere is the hemisphere responsible for language, for sequential reasoning, for the conversion of internal experience into external communication. And it is designed, at the biological level, to relieve internal pressure by converting that pressure into speech. When you feel the thing God is building reaching a new level of intensity, and you tell someone about it, you experience immediate and genuine relief. That relief is neurochemical. It is real. It feels like connection. It even feels spiritual, like testimony, like the right expression of what faith produces. And for a moment, it is all of those things. The problem is not the relief. The problem is what the relief was drawing from. That internal pressure was not emotional static that needed to be cleared. That pressure was the atmospheric force being assembled by God around the specific thing He was building in and around your life. It was the concentrated spiritual environment in which the breakthrough was being prepared. When the speech released that pressure, what dissipated was not just the emotional weight of carrying something significant alone. What dispersed was the assembly, the concentrated conditions, the atmospheric environment specific to the miracle in preparation. This is the precise reason God is furious at this moment. Not because speech is wrong, not because testimony is wrong, because this speech, in this moment, about this specific thing He is building, is the one variable that can undo the accumulated work of the preceding season. He has invested too much in the architecture of what He is preparing to allow a moment of pressure relief to scatter what took months or years to assemble. The root cause, stated clearly, is this. Your internal relationship with unmanifested things has not yet been fully calibrated to treat them as sacred cargo rather than as content to be processed and shared. Your brain, shaped by years of a culture that rewards instant sharing, that measures significance by visibility, that equates silence with inactivity and secrecy with shame, has developed a reflex that converts sacred internal pressure into speech before the thing being carried is ready to survive outside the protected environment of your interior life. The enemy did not manufacture this reflex in you. The world created it on His behalf, and God is naming it today with surgical precision so that you can address the root and not simply the symptom. Type mechanism in the comments if what was just described explains something you have been living with for a long time. Now let me show you what the silence God is commanding actually produces. Because close your mouth is not the end of the instruction. It is the beginning of a protection protocol that, when maintained, does something extraordinary in the invisible realm that directly affects what happens in the visible realm. When a chosen one holds sacred things in sacred silence during the season, immediately preceding the arrival of what was promised, 4 specific things happen. Each one changes how you understand what is being asked of you. The first is concentration. The atmospheric pressure that would have been dispersed through premature speech remains concentrated around the breakthrough God is building. Concentrated pressure has directional force. The more pressure that stays concentrated, the shorter the final distance to arrival. Think about this in the physical world. Anything that is going to penetrate a surface requires concentrated rather than dispersed force. The same principle operates in the invisible realm. Concentrated atmospheric pressure around a breakthrough reduces the resistance it encounters on its way to manifestation. Your silence is not passive waiting. It is the active concentration of the spiritual force building the arrival. Every word you do not speak about what God is building is, in the invisible realm, a pressure increase around what He is building. The second thing that happens is protection. What cannot be seen cannot be targeted. What has not been announced cannot have opposition organized against it. The enemy does not have access to what has not yet been spoken into the visible realm. He cannot marshal strategy against something whose nature, timing, and direction you have not given him through your own tongue. Your mouth has historically been the most reliable intelligence source your adversary has had about what God is building in your life. Sacred silence cuts off that intelligence entirely. It removes the enemy from the operational picture. He is left fighting in the dark against a target whose location you have declined to provide. The third thing that happens is discernment. The practice of holding sacred things in sacred silence, sustained over real time through real pressure, develops a perceptual capacity that cannot be acquired any other way. The chosen one who practices it begins to naturally distinguish between what God has cleared for release and what is still being formed, between what is ready to be spoken and what is still gestating in the protected environment of the interior life. This discernment is not available at the beginning of the practice. It does not come from instruction. It develops through the practice itself, through the repeated experience of holding something close and noticing what the holding produces. The fourth thing is alignment. When you stop using speech as the primary mechanism for relieving the pressure of carrying something sacred, your fundamental relationship with the thing being built shifts. You stop relating to it as content and start relating to it as cargo, something with weight, something whose value exists entirely separately from how others perceive it, or whether they even know it exists. Something that deserves and requires your protection rather than your announcement. That shift in how you carry what God gave you is not merely strategic, it is developmental. God is forming, through the practice of sacred silence, the kind of person who can carry unprecedented things without dropping them at the last mile. The silence is not just the strategy for this season, it is the formation of who you are becoming. I want to show you now the pattern in the lives of those who carried what you are carrying before you. The sacred text is full of people who learned the principle of sacred silence, and the timing of their silences is not incidental to their stories. The silences are structural. They are load-bearing elements in the architecture of how the promise arrived. Joseph had a dream from God, a specific, fully formed, world-altering dream about what his future would look like, and he told his brothers. He described the vision in detail to the people whose lives would be most directly affected by what he had been shown. The response to his announcement was a pit, a false accusation, a prison, and 13 years of apparent delay between the dream and its fulfillment. Most people read the Joseph story as a journey in which the suffering was simply the path. And the suffering was the path. But the path was rerouted through 13 additional years of formation because Joseph announced what was sacred before the people he announced it to were prepared to receive it, and before the atmospheric conditions for the announcement had been established by God rather than chosen by Joseph. The dream did not change. God did not revoke it. It arrived exactly as described. But the trajectory to its arrival was fundamentally altered by the premature disclosure of what was still in its gestation period. The announcement did not prove his faith. It cost his timeline. Mary received the most extraordinary announcement in all of sacred history. She was told she would carry something the world had never seen before, something unprecedented, something for which there was no existing category, and she kept it in her heart. She went to one trusted person specifically prepared by God to receive the information, and she held everything else in sacred silence through a season in which announcing it broadly would have destroyed her practically, socially, and possibly physically. Her silence was not passivity. It was not fear. It was not an absence of faith. Her silence was the most active and powerful spiritual force operating on earth in that moment. It was the container in which the unprecedented could fully gestate without the premature exposure that would have prevented its arrival in the form it was meant to take. She was not withholding good news from the world. She was protecting what the world needed most until the appointed moment of release. Nehemiah received a vision to rebuild what had been destroyed in Jerusalem. And before he said a single word about it to anyone, he went at night, alone, and surveyed the full extent of what needed to be done. He assessed the situation, planned the approach, and understood the resources required. Only after that internal preparation was complete did he speak to the people who needed to hear it. When opposition arose, it arose against something already in motion, already organized, already past the point where premature exposure could scatter it. His silence was the foundation on which everything that followed was built. These are not instructions for a permanent lifestyle of secrecy. They are blueprints for a specific season. The season you are in right now. The season immediately preceding the arrival of what God has been building. And the instruction is the same in every account. Hold it close. Let it form completely. Do not release the atmospheric pressure before the delivery is prepared to land. Your silence right now is doing more active work toward what is coming than any announcement you could make to any person in your life. Now, I want to give you something practical. A warning with a diagnosis but without a framework for implementing what the warning requires is incomplete. God does not call you to something without giving you specific tools to walk it out through real days and real moments and real pressure. I want to name a pattern I have observed consistently in chosen ones who struggle with premature disclosure. I am going to give it a name so that you can recognize it in real time when it is operating, and so that the recognition itself becomes the first moment of interruption. I am going to call it the leaking vessel. The leaking vessel is not a description of a person with bad character. It is a description of a person whose internal container for unmanifested things has not yet been sealed. They feel things building in them with genuine power. They know things are coming with real certainty. They carry revelations and assignments that are genuine and significant and large. But the vessel in which they carry these things has hairline cracks in it. Cracks that were not created by sin or weakness, but by years of living in a culture that created the conditions for those cracks without anyone being aware of what was being formed. The culture rewards sharing. It rewards visibility. It measures significance by how widely something can be broadcast and how quickly. It frames silence as inactivity and privacy as secretiveness. And every person who has spent years immersed in those conditions has hairline cracks in their vessel without ever having chosen to develop them. Every revelation that goes out before its time leaks through those cracks. Every plan spoken in its seed form rather than its fruit form leaks through those cracks. And each leak costs a portion of the atmospheric pressure that was building the delivery. The sealing of the leaking vessel is not primarily a matter of willpower. This is where most teaching on this subject stops and where the practical reality diverges most sharply from what is actually required. Willpower can suppress the impulse to speak for a conversation. It can maintain the discipline of silence for a day, maybe two. But what God is asking for in this season may extend weeks. And maintaining weeks of strategic silence through willpower alone against the sustained pressure of accumulating revelation and the genuine pull of the people in your life is not a realistic strategy for a person whose brain has been conditioned by years of cultural pressure to treat speech as the natural release for internal spiritual pressure. What is needed is not greater effort applied to the same mechanism. What is needed is a change in the mechanism itself, a change in the underlying relationship between the two hemispheres of the brain and their respective orientations to what is held internally and what is released externally. A fully synchronized brain, one in which the integrative right hemisphere and the analytical left hemisphere are firing in coordinated activation, produces patience that is qualitatively different from willpower. The compulsion to relieve internal pressure through premature speech decreases naturally, not because it is being suppressed, but because the architecture that generated the compulsion is no longer fragmented. I am going to come back to this specifically later in this message. But right now, hold this question. What if the reason you keep sharing too soon is not a character issue at all, but a correctable condition of the architecture your brain is currently operating from? What if the leaking vessel pattern is not something you need to fight harder against, but something that can be addressed at its root? Type the leaking vessel in the comments if this pattern is yours. Let it be named so it can be healed. Now let me take what was just introduced and go deeper into the science behind it. Because God operates in the natural world through the mechanisms he designed. And what has been discovered about the human brain in the last several decades confirms and extends what the sacred text has always described as the architecture of wholeness. There is a documented relationship between what researchers call hemisphere synchronization and the capacity to hold what is unmanifested without seeking premature release. The research that has emerged from decades of work on the neurological basis of impulse control, of the capacity to delay gratification, of the ability to sustain a long-term orientation against the pull of short-term relief, has consistently traced all of these capacities back to the same underlying mechanism. The coordinated operation of the prefrontal cortex in genuine concert with the integrative processing of the right hemisphere, what the scientific tradition calls executive function and self-regulation, the sacred traditions have always called self-mastery and the fruit of a renewed mind. And the neurological foundation of both is identical. Synchronized, coherent operation across the full architecture of the brain. When that architecture is fragmented, which is the operating state of virtually every adult who has passed through the conditions of modern life without specific intervention, the consequences are not limited to cognitive fog or decision fatigue, though those are real. The consequences include a specific vulnerability in the management of internal pressure. The left hemisphere, without the integrating presence of its right hemisphere counterpart, operating at full capacity, seeks the fastest available resolution to any sustained internal state. If the internal state is excitement about what God is building, the fastest resolution is to describe it to someone. If the internal state is anticipation of a breakthrough, the fastest resolution is to announce it. If the internal state is the weight of carrying something sacred alone, the fastest resolution is to share it. And in every case, the relief is immediate, real, and costly in ways that are deferred and invisible. When the synchronization is restored, when both hemispheres re-enter the coordinated firing that represents the brain operating as it was designed, something specific changes in this dynamic. The integrative right hemisphere comes back online with the patient, context-holding, meaning-making function it was built to perform. The compulsion to relieve internal pressure through premature speech decreases significantly, not because the impulse is being managed by willpower, but because the architecture that generated the impulse in its strongest form is no longer fragmented. The person begins, naturally and without extraordinary effort, to develop the capacity to distinguish what God has cleared for release from what he is still forming. They begin to hold sacred things with something that feels less like discipline and more like instinct. They become, at the biological level, the kind of vessel that God can trust with unprecedented things. Because the design that makes sacred holding natural has been restored to its intended operating state. This is the mechanism of the second breakthrough in this message. Not just the understanding of why premature speech costs what it costs. The restoration of the cognitive architecture that makes sustained sacred silence not just possible but natural. And the implication of this for the season you are in right now cannot be overstated. The command to close your mouth and keep your next move a deadly secret is not just a spiritual directive. It is an invitation into a transformation that operates at the deepest level of how your brain processes the sacred things it carries. I want to show you what the person who has sealed the leaking vessel looks like, because the command to close your mouth is not simply a prohibition on a specific behavior. It is an invitation into an identity. The identity of a person who is categorically different in every room they enter, in every season they navigate, in every conversation they are present for. The person who has developed the capacity to hold what is sacred in sacred silence does not simply share less. They become a different quality of person at the level that other people can sense without being able to articulate what they are sensing. Let me describe this in specific terms. They listen differently. When most people are engaged in a conversation, they are processing incoming information and simultaneously preparing what they are about to say in response. The mental bandwidth required for active listening is partially, sometimes substantially, occupied by the generation of the outgoing speech that is being drafted in parallel. This means that most people, in most conversations, are not fully present to what is being said to them. They are present to their response to what is being said to them. But the person who has developed the capacity to hold what is sacred without the compulsion to immediately externalize it listens from a different position entirely. They are not managing the pressure of what they want to say. Their listening bandwidth is fully available for receiving. And in that space of full availability, they hear things that the other people in the same conversation do not hear. They receive information that was not spoken in words. They perceive the layer beneath the surface layer. They pick up what was meant rather than simply what was said. Their listening, over time, becomes prophetic in the literal sense. They are hearing accurately what the room is communicating at its deepest level. They move differently. In a world of constant announcements and declarations of intention and public articulation of plans before those plans are ready, the person who moves in silence moves faster, not because they are withholding from others out of superiority or strategic manipulation, because the atmospheric concentration of what they are building is not being dispersed in 14 directions through premature disclosure. The person who builds in silence finishes before opposition can organize. They arrive at destinations that others are still discussing how to reach. They execute the move before anyone who might want to counter it has been informed that the move was being considered. Their silence is not secrecy for its own sake. It is velocity in a form that looks, from the outside, like unusual grace and ease. And they produce, in the rooms they enter, something the people in those rooms cannot fully explain. There is a quality, a gravitational quality, that comes with being a person whose inside and outside are not constantly equalized through speech. People in the presence of someone who holds things with sacred capacity feel that there is more to that person than what is visible. They are correct. There is more. The held things, the unannounced breakthroughs, the sacred cargo that is still in transit and being protected. These create a presence, a depth, a weight that premature disclosure permanently prevents a person from developing. The chosen one who has sealed the vessel becomes the most significant person in rooms they barely speak in. Type "sealed" in the comments right now if you are ready to step into this identity, not as a resolution, as a declaration of what God is forming in you through this season of commanded silence. Now, I want to address the specific obstacles that will arise when you try to implement the sacred silence God is commanding. Because the enemy does not simply concede his only remaining weapon without a fight. And that fight will come, and it will feel from the inside like spiritual justification for breaking the silence. It will feel reasonable, It will feel loving. It will feel faithful. And it will be none of those things. The first obstacle is a person. There is someone in your life, or there will be in the coming days, who arrives at a moment of genuine warmth and genuine relational care and asks you specifically about what God is doing in your life right now. They are not an agent of opposition. They love you. They have been with you through difficult seasons, and every fiber of your relational instinct will say that withholding from this specific person in this specific moment is somehow wrong, that it is unkind to them, that it is secretive in a way that damages the relationship, that the closeness you share makes an exception appropriate here. I want to give you the exact sentence to use in that moment. You can say it warmly, with full eye contact, with genuine love in your voice. I am in a season of holding things close. I will share when the time is right. That is not deception. That is not coldness. That is the language of a steward who understands that what they carry belongs to God first and to the relationship second. And the person who genuinely loves you will honor it. The person who responds with pressure or offense in response to that sentence is showing you something important about what they were actually seeking. Let the response teach you. The second obstacle is excitement. When God shows you something new about what He is building, something that confirms the direction you have been pressing toward, something that makes the arrival feel closer and more real than it did the day before, the joy of it creates a specific and powerful pressure to share, not from pride, not from a need for validation, from the genuine overflow of receiving something wonderful. That overflow of joy is not wrong. It is not a spiritual failure, but its expression must be redirected in this season. The safest and most productive expression of that overflow is vertical. Tell God what you received. Thank Him in private with the same energy you would have poured into the conversation you almost had. Speak it back to heaven rather than outward to the world around you. Let the vertical expression replace the horizontal one for the duration of this season. The joy does not need to be suppressed. It needs to be redirected toward the one who is most prepared to receive it and to amplify it back into the thing He is building. The third obstacle is the test. There will be a specific moment in this season where a trusted person, perhaps someone with whom you have a long history of deep spiritual sharing, will create or present what feels like an opening. A perfectly timed conversation. A question that seems almost arranged. A relational moment that feels so safe and so right that the impulse to share in it feels like confirmation rather than temptation. That opening may be genuinely arising from love, but it is also, precisely because of its apparent perfection, a test of whether your silence is strategic and spirit-led or merely situational and opportunistic. Ask God specifically before you respond, not as a ritual, as a genuine and attentive question. Is this the moment? Has this been cleared? And wait for an answer that is more substantive than your own desire to release the pressure. The person who passes this test earns a depth of spiritual authority and a level of divine trust that cannot be accessed by any other route. Now, I want to show you the third breakthrough in this message, the one that completes the full picture of what God is doing and why He is doing it with this specific level of urgency at this specific moment of your life. We have established what premature speech costs. We have established the mechanism by which the compulsion to premature speech operates in the brain. We have established what sacred silence produces in the invisible realm, and what the person who has lived it looks like on the other side. Now, I want to show you the specific nature of the deadly secret God is asking you to protect, because the silence is not generic. It is targeted at something very specific. The deadly secret is not information about your vision. It is not your spiritual direction or your long-term assignment or the full scope of what God has shown you is coming. Those things have weight and deserve protection, but they are not what this command is specifically about. The deadly secret is your move, your next specific, singular, concrete move. The one that is forming inside you right now, the one beginning to take shape in your understanding, beginning to feel like the obvious next thing, even though you cannot yet fully articulate its timing or its form. That move, not the destination, not the vision as a whole, the move. Here is why that specific move must be protected with the urgency God is commanding. Your adversary has been able to mount opposition against previous breakthroughs in your life, in large part because you gave him advance notice. Every declaration of intent you have made in the past year, every sharing of direction before direction was fully confirmed. Every early testimony of what you believed was incoming has given the forces aligned against your advancement the opportunity to position ahead of you, to prepare the counter before you made the move, to set the resistance in place before you arrived. But a move that no one knows is coming cannot be countered. A move that stays inside you until the moment of its execution arrives to find the landscape unprepared for it. No organized resistance, no pre-positioned opposition, no atmospheric interference that your own announcements assembled around the very thing you were trying to advance. The surprise of it is not just tactical advantage, it is spiritual force. When God moves through a chosen one who has maintained sacred silence until the appointed moment, the move arrives with the full, concentrated pressure of everything that was held, rather than leaked. It lands differently. It penetrates differently. It produces outcomes that are disproportionate to the observable inputs because the invisible inputs have not been dispersed. This is the full meaning of deadly secret. The secret is deadly to the strategy of your adversary because he cannot see it. He cannot counter what he cannot see. He cannot organize resistance against a move that has not been announced. Your silence is the weapon, not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. The silence of someone who is carrying something so significant that releasing it prematurely would be the most costly mistake available to them in this season. Hold the deadly secret. Let it stay inside you until heaven gives clearance. The move is already decided. It is waiting for the protection of your silence to allow it to land in full force. Type "protecting my move" in the comments if you receive this right now. Here is what I need you to receive clearly before this message reaches its final movement. Not just intellectually, but in the place where your understanding of God and your understanding of yourself actually meet. God being furious is evidence of investment, not of rejection, not of disappointment in who you are, not of a change in the plans he has for your life. His fury is the sound of a craftsman protecting something he has been building longer than you currently understand, something that is closer to completion than you can see from your present vantage point. The fury is not anger at you, it is urgency on behalf of you. Between those two things is the entire difference in how this message lands and how you carry it forward. The fury is also evidence of proximity. God does not dispatch emergency urgency to people who are far from the thing he promised. He does not send a furious message to someone who is at the beginning of a long journey with many seasons still ahead. He sends this kind of message to someone who is close enough to the arrival that a specific wrong move carries real and immediate consequences for the real timeline of what is coming. The furious message is the most precise locator currently available to you. You are not at the beginning. You are not in the middle plateau where endurance is the primary assignment. You are in the final approach. And the final approach is the most dangerous segment precisely because it is the most proximate to landing. The enemy attacks hardest in the final approach because that is the only phase where a successful attack actually costs you the full prize. The fury is also evidence of love. He is fighting for you loudly enough that the urgency of it broke through everything else to reach you in this message today. He could have let you make the move and dealt with the consequences afterward. He did not. He sent the warning before the cost was incurred. That is not the behavior of a God who has written you off. That is the behavior of a God who has too much invested in what he is building in and around your life to let a correctable pattern cost you another season. That is the behavior of a God who sees what is at stake in this specific season for your specific life, and who moved to protect it before the damage was done. Receive the fury as the love it is. Receive the urgency as the proximity it is measuring. Receive the warning as the grace it represents. But here is the gap that most messages like this one do not fully close. You now understand what is required. You understand why it is required. You understand the mechanism behind the pattern that made it difficult in previous seasons. You understand the 4 things sacred silence produces and what the sealed vessel looks like on the other side of the transformation. But understanding is not yet capacity. This is the gap. This is what the preceding seasons revealed. Not that you lacked faith or commitment, that you lacked the biological foundation to sustain what the understanding required over weeks of real pressure, real relational warmth, and real accumulated excitement about what was approaching. The chosen one, who intellectually grasps the importance of sacred silence, but whose brain is still operating from the fragmented architecture that produces the leaking vessel, will hold the silence for several days and then encounter a moment of accumulated pressure where the understanding gives way. Understanding is necessary, but it is not sufficient on its own. What comes next in this message is what closes the gap between understanding and sustained capacity. Let me bring everything together and be completely plain with you. You have stayed with this message through its full length, and what you have invested deserves a complete and direct answer. No more building toward. Here it is. God is furious because you are in the final approach to the most significant arrival of your life to date, and premature speech is the one remaining vulnerability in your breakthrough trajectory. That vulnerability has a mechanism. The fragmented brain produces the leaking vessel pattern by generating a compulsion to relieve sacred internal pressure through premature speech, because the left hemisphere, without its integrative counterpart, seeks the fastest available resolution to any sustained internal state. The solution is not willpower applied more forcefully to the same problem. The solution is the restoration of the synchronized whole brain architecture that produces, naturally and without extraordinary effort, the capacity to hold what is unmanifest in sacred silence until God gives clearance for its release. Every element of this message has been building toward the same practical destination: the diagnosis of the leaking vessel, the 4 things sacred silence produces, the biblical patterns of Joseph and Mary and Nehemiah, the identity of the sealed vessel, the nature of the deadly secret, and the specific move that must be protected. Every one of these truths pointed toward the same final question. Now that you understand, what gives you the capacity to sustain what the understanding requires? The person who understands all of it, but lacks the biological foundation, will eventually fail in the moment of greatest pressure. The person who has both the understanding and the restored architecture will hold the deadly secret through the full duration of the final approach and arrive at the moment of release with the full concentrated force of everything that was protected rather than leaked. You are further along than you think. The patterns you have identified in yourself through this message, the moments you recalled where premature speech cost you something you could not explain at the time, are not evidence of a person who is behind or broken, or repeatedly failing. They are evidence of a person who has been carrying something real and significant through conditions that were not designed to support the kind of patient, concentrated, protected, carrying that unprecedented breakthroughs require. You did not fail those previous seasons. You operated from a fragmented architecture in a culture that reinforced the fragmentation, while carrying something that required a wholeness you had not yet been equipped with. That is not a story of failure. That is a story of someone who kept pressing forward under conditions that were working against them, who kept believing in what God said, even when the leaks cost them time and arrival. And that same persistence, now combined with the biological foundation that was always missing from the equation, produces something your adversary has no counter for. There is also this: every person who has been chosen to carry something unprecedented has had a moment in the process of preparation that looked from the inside like a limitation, a recurring pattern that seemed to prove they were not fully ready. The pattern was never the disqualifier. It was the location of the next level of formation. The leaking vessel pattern is not the reason you cannot carry what God is building. It is the specific point at which God has arranged the tool that completes your formation. Not a coincidence, not a detour. The plan. Type "ready" in the comments if you are ready for what comes next. The Genius Switch. That is the name of what Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist working in New York City, and his dedicated research team discovered after 2 decades of focused work on one central question. What is the most direct and effective method for restoring whole brain hemisphere synchronization in an adult whose cognitive architecture has been fragmented by the accumulated conditions of modern life? The answer they found is an 8-minute targeted sound sequence. Not music, not brainwaves of any kind. A specific, precisely engineered sequence of sound delivered through headphones with eyes closed, designed to create the neurological conditions in which both hemispheres of the brain re-enter the coordinated, synchronized firing that represents the brain operating as it was designed to operate. The same architecture you carried as a child before the world began fragmenting it. The same design God placed in you before the accumulated pressures of modern life created the hairline cracks in the vessel this message has been naming. Dr. Daniel Barone built the Genius Switch on the foundation of Nobel Prize research. The specific research of Dr. Roger Sperry, who received the Nobel Prize in 1981 for his landmark work on hemisphere specialization and the distinct functions of the left and right hemispheres of the human brain. Dr. Barone worked with a team carrying decades of collective clinical and neurological experience, and the outcomes documented among people who have used the 8-minute protocol include what you most need in this season: the natural decrease of the compulsive pressure to externalize what should be held internally. The increase of the patient, context-holding orientation that sacred silence requires. The development of the natural discernment between what God has cleared for release and what is still forming in the protected interior. These are not side effects. They are direct outcomes of the synchronized brain returning to its designed operating state. The Genius Switch is available right now at the link in the description below and in the pinned comment. $39. It comes with a 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. No conditions, no limitations. If the protocol does not produce what has been described, the full investment is returned. That is the level of confidence with which this tool is offered to the person this message was designed to reach. This is not for everyone who has heard this message. It is for the chosen one who has recognized their pattern, who has understood the mechanism behind it, and who knows they need more than understanding alone to carry what God is building through the final approach without leaking it before the arrival. 18,456 people have already made this choice. What they describe on the other side converges consistently. The compulsion eased, the clarity deepened. The patience arrived without effort. The silence became not a discipline to be maintained through willpower, but a natural orientation that felt, for the first time, like the most natural state in the world. The link for the genius switch is in the description and in the pinned comment. If what you received in this message resonates at the level that recognition always resonates, that resonance is your answer. Go to the link. Let it be the next move you protect. Before this message completes, I want to do something specific. I want to speak something over you, and I want to ask you first to do something simple. Stop wherever you are right now. If you are moving, be still. If you are multitasking, let everything else go for the next 2 minutes. What I am about to say is not filler or closing protocol. It is the specific thing this entire message was arranged to deliver into the exact interior space where what God is building actually lives. Close your eyes for a moment, or simply let your attention move fully inward. I want you to feel, not think about, feel where the thing God is building in you currently lives in your body. Some of you will feel it in your chest, in the sternum, in a pressure that has been there so long you have stopped fully noticing it. Some of you will feel it in a low, quiet knowing behind your stomach, a settled certainty that something is coming that you cannot see yet, but cannot stop being aware of. Whatever form it takes in your body right now, locate it, feel it, acknowledge it as what it is. That sensation is the sensation of something alive that has not yet been born into full visibility. Something real that has not yet become visible to the external world. Something that God has been tending with more care, more precision, more investment of divine attention than you currently have the vantage point to see. It has been protected by Him. It has been growing in the environment He created for it. And right now, in this season, the thing that will determine whether it arrives in its full form or in a diminished form is whether you protect what He is building with the same care He has been protecting it. That thing does not need your announcement. It does not need witnesses to its approach. It does not need to be explained to anyone who has not been specifically assigned by God to carry it alongside you. It needs your protection. It needs the atmospheric concentration that sacred silence alone can provide at this stage. And from this moment forward, every word you choose not to speak about it prematurely is a gift you are giving directly to its arrival. Release the compulsion to explain what God is building to people who were not given the assignment to understand it yet. Release the habit of needing the people in your life to track with what is coming before it comes. Release the reflex of sharing the seed before it has become the fruit, and receive, in their place, the identity of the person God has been forming through this very season. The keeper of the unborn promise, the guardian of what heaven is still building. The chosen one who has learned to hold sacred things with the same care and patience that heaven holds them. Chosen one, declare this with me right now. My mouth is sealed for this season. What God is building in me does not require my announcement. It requires my protection. I am the keeper of what heaven is building. I am the guardian of the unborn promise. What is inside me is deadly to the strategy of the enemy precisely because he cannot see it, and I will not give him the gift of seeing it before God releases it. I am close. I am protected. The atmospheric pressure of every word I have not spoken is building toward the arrival, and the next move is already settled in heaven. It is only waiting for me to stop leaking it before it can land. If you are ready to seal the vessel at the biological level, the link for the genius switch is in the description and in the pinned comment below. Go there before this moment passes. Clarity received and not acted on is clarity that fades. 18,000 people did not wait for a better moment. Type "sealed" in the comments. Mark this as the moment you close the door, and then go to the link. And so it is. It is done. Go now, chosen one. The deadly secret is yours to keep. The move is yours to make. And when God gives clearance, nothing will be able to stop what arrives. Not one thing.